Protect yourself at all times. The greatest on the challenge. Champion. Let's get it on. Let's go.
What's up? It's the Boxing Media Podcast back up in here. We are now official at the live weigh-in.
No catch weights, no max weights, but all of the smoke. Only in Las Vegas could a weigh-in feel like a main event, as tonight, boxing's biggest gamble steps onto the scale. This is the Canelo versus Crawford weigh-in show. Welcome inside the T-Mobile Arena, the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. I'm Mario Lopez alongside boxing five-time champion Antonio Tarver, award-winning biographer and analyst Mark Kriegel, and Ring Magazine senior insider Mike Coppinger. Jim Gray and Heidi Andrell will join us shortly. Antonio, what a fight we are in store for tomorrow night, my man.
Yes, and what better way to celebrate Mexican Independence Day by featuring the iconic superstar, Mexican world champion boxer, Canelo Alvarez, as he faced his toughest opponent to date, I believe, in two-fisted monster, the ferocious Terence Crawford. What a way to start this weekend.
You know, boxing history favors the younger man, the naturally bigger man, the A-side. Terence Crawford is none of those things, but the real reason we're here is because he wouldn't settle for anyone else but Canelo Alvarez. What I want to know, what I think we want to know, is what does he know about Canelo that we don't, Mike?
Well, you know what they say, right, Mark? Be careful what you wish for. Canelo Alvarez might not just be bigger, but he might be better, too. Crawford's jumping way up in class. He's jumping up in weight, size, and he's on the big stage for the first time, and we're going to see if he can pull this off.
Exactly right, Mike. We're going to see that tomorrow night from Riyadh to New York to Las Vegas. 3 face-offs across the globe earlier this summer kicked everything off. And now the final stare down before fight night is just moments away. Antonio, these two have been at press conferences around the world, but what changes as we approach the last stare down before they actually lace up the gloves tomorrow night?
Well, you know, I'm expecting both of these guys, both of their camps are invested in this fight very heavily. And you can tell the state of Bud Crawford's mind, he's focused. And Canelo Alvarez knows he has a vicious opponent in him tomorrow night. I think both of these fighters' greatness can elevate them to victory tomorrow.
And look, right, these are 2 all-time greats we're talking about here. And Terence Crawford's greatness is the only reason we're even here talking about this fight. Canelo Alvarez has fought 9 fights at 168, 2 at 75. He's put guys to sleep at 175. And if Crawford could take his best shot, he has a chance to win this fight.
Absolutely. And listen, we have 10 bouts ready to hit the scales in just moments, starting with our 6 YouTube prelims. Then it is the 4 main card fights. It is all going down tomorrow night at Allegiant Stadium at 9 Eastern and only on Netflix. Lightweights, Muhammad Alakal versus Travis Crawford. WBC Super Middleweight Interim World Championship, Christian Mabili versus Lester Martinez. Super Welterweight, Callum Walsh versus Fernando Vargas Jr. And, of course, undisputed in Ring Magazine Super Middleweight Championship between Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford. Antonio, what skills in particular make Canelo so great?
Well, I think his skills jumps off the page. You know, his IQ for boxing is second to none, and his power is still his calling card. You know, this guy, if he hits you solid, you're out of there. And I believe it's his granite chin that has saved him in a lot of fights. If you can't hurt this man, there's no way you're going to be able to knock him out. So he has one-punch stopping power, like we just saw him knock out or knock down Berlanga. So Canelo is still one of the most complete fighters in the game today.
Remember the second Triple G fight? I think people forget just how masterfully Canelo can box when he wants to. Second thing is the chin. How many Hall of Famers has this guy been in with? No one's taken him out. No one's put him down. The last thing, and it always sticks with you, is the power. I mean, if you go back to the Billy Joe Saunders fight, the way that he took out a guy who had never been taken out before with one shot, broke his orbital bone, that's an exclamation point. That's the kind of thing that stays with you.
Yeah, Mark, and the way that Canelo broke Billy Joe's orbital bone is those feints. And if you guess wrong on those feints, you're going to pay. I've seen Terence Crawford compared to Bivol and Mayweather, who both beat Canelo soundly, but Crawford's really a boxer-puncher, and he's aggressive. He is there to be hit, and we're going to see if his chin can hold up.
In that example that you gave with Billy Joe Saunders, of course, someone more his side, a lot more fluid with those combinations. So he came in looking a little leaner. We'll see if, in fact, he uses that to his advantage. For more on Canelo, let's toss it right now backstage to Jim Gray.
Thanks so much, Mario. It's great to be with you. I spoke to Canelo Alvarez, and he told me he feels he is in the best shape of his life. He feels as though he is in his prime. I asked him about the risk in fighting a guy who's coming up 2 weight divisions. He said, there's a risk in every fight. I really appreciate who he is, and I respect who he is. He says, but there was no substitute at all for experience, and the experience definitely goes to Canelo Alvarez. He has twice as many rounds in his career as does Terence Crawford, and in the last 5 years, he's fought twice as many times. He said, you know, I'm 11-0 as a super middleweight, and Terence Crawford may be 41-0 as a professional fighter, but he's never won in my division. Mario, back out to you.
Thank you, Jim. Let's turn our attention to the challenger, Terence Crawford. Mark, what is it that makes him so special?
First of all, you have the greatest switch hitter in the history of the game. Second, as high an IQ as he has, that's how mean he is. There's an art to being a mean-spirited fighter. Terence has it down. But to me, the greatest talent is his mind. He has extraordinary self-belief. And that's, again, why we're here. Last summer, he spoke to Turki Al-Sheikh. Turki wanted him, hey, how about Boots Ennis? How about Virgil Ortiz? No, I want Canelo. He was asking for Canelo behind the scenes going back to 2023.
Mike, probably one of the most competitive guys we've ever seen as far as this element. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I know Terence Crawford really well, Mario, and he wants to win at everything. Darts, ping pong, tennis, dominoes. It doesn't matter what it is. Crawford's competitive drive has got him to this point, because it wasn't too long ago that Crawford was overlooked. None of the big promoters wanted to sign him. Top Rank didn't push him to the greatest heights. And to be on this stage, Netflix against Canelo Alvarez, a lot of credit to Terence Crawford.
I think this could possibly be the best athlete that he's ever been in the ring with. We talking about a world-class wrestler. We talking about a guy that can play basketball. We talking about a guy that can do a lot of things. So that's what makes Crawford, to me, special. He's a heck of an athlete, bro, along with a superior boxer.
Yes, along with a killer instinct.
Yes, sir.
And he doesn't know how to lose. For more on Terence Crawford, let's toss it right now to Heidi Androl. Heidi.
Thank you so much, Mario. Well, so much has been made about the weight. I do think it's important to note that Terence Crawford came into this training camp at 184 pounds. This isn't like a 6 or an 8-week training camp where he's built the mass to go up in 2 divisions that quickly. No, this has happened gradually, and he's learned and acclimated to fight with that mass. Now, I spoke with Sean Porter, who is a former opponent of Terence Crawford this week, about his power. He said, hey, yeah, it stings. If he stings, it's going to get your attention. Perhaps that's all Crawford needs to do. Get Canelo's attention, make him hesitate. And remember, while he's had success, he's won against Southpaws. He's only faced 2 in the past decade. Terence Crawford will be the 3rd. Now, yes, he got sparring with Boots Ennis to emulate that Terence Crawford style, but is that enough 2 sparring sessions to get his head around those quick switch instincts that Terence Crawford has? And don't assume that Canelo is going to be the stronger man on the inside. Crawford has that wrestling experience. He's physical, and the way he's built his frame may just be enough to not get pushed around in there. And if that's the case, then this is not a fight about size. It's a fight about skill, and skill for skill. Well, Crawford might just be walking into one arena where Canelo can't hold the edge. Mario?
Thank you, Heidi. Now, Mark, the first image we saw not long after this fight was made was a photo of Canelo and Crawford actually enjoying a meal together.
Well, they don't necessarily like each other. Listen, I mean, the scope of this event is very purposeful. We know that this is intended to launch a new promotion. We know that the reputations of both Canelo and Crawford could be changed after this fight. We know where we're going and where we want to go, but this is how we got here.
Now, we've heated up considerably since then, but since the fight has actually been enough, where do you think their mindset is at the moment, Mike?
I think both guys are obviously here to win, Mario. There's so much on the line. I keep hearing that Canelo Alvarez has more to lose, and that is correct. Canelo said it for years. When he was asked about fighting Terence Crawford, he would say, well, why fight him? If I lose, they'll just say he was the smaller guy. But for Terence Crawford, his resume isn't that strong. If he doesn't win, people will question his legacy.
Mark, you did a special recently about how they got here. Referring to your special with the fighters on how they got here. Talk to us about that.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. As far as the fighters getting here, where they're at this moment, Canelo and Crawford. I know you got to spend some time with them recently.
We've arrived at this moment because Terence Crawford demanded it. Don't worry, they're not friends. In fact, each man seeks to ruin what the other holds most sacred, his reputation. The question isn't how we got here, but where they're from. Canelo, international superstar so deeply rooted in Mexico. Crawford, ever the outsider, of Larimore Street in Omaha. Point of origin dictates who they are, how they'll fight, what they'll do to win. Even after tonight, how they'll be remembered. Canelo's gifts were abundant.
Lit.
Look, the power, the size, and a fiercely Mexican pride.
Canelo Alvarez, one of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time.
They gave him more than A-side leverage. Canelo became an economy unto himself. A generation of fighters saw him not as a rival, but a payday.
Oh!
Meanwhile, Crawford sees his white whale.
Mamma mia!
That thing he must destroy to make him whole. If Omaha was nowhere on the boxing map, then neither was Crawford. Had to move up and wait on 9 days' notice just to get on TV and beat the Scottish champion in Scotland for that first belt.
New lightweight champion of the world.
To Crawford, Canelo's the cure. For promoters who failed to promote him, fighters who wouldn't fight him, the resentments that nourish him. That's why we're here. Pride, ego, call it what you will. One man who had to keep pushing, and another who couldn't say no.
All right, gentlemen, it is time for the boxers to hit the scales. Let's toss it down now to Max Kellerman for Canelo versus Crawford weigh-ins.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the ceremonial weigh-in, Canelo Crawford. It all goes down in 24 hours at Allegiant Stadium. You feel that, right, Canelo fans? Crawford fans? You got that little nervous feeling, right? We're within 24 hours. That's how you know it's a super fight. It is live on Netflix. 20 fighters are set to make the walk.
Like and subscribe.
As we start with the preliminary card,
You ain't got Netflix.
live and free on YouTube.
So you can watch the fight tomorrow.
Let's
If you
kick
ain't
things off in the middleweight division. First to the
It's a good
scale,
fight.
Sauna, Slick Proper, Akale.
However, he looks really well prepared and in really good shape, Antonio.
And you know what? I just saw Achille down in Florida, right there in Osceola, Kissimmee. He fought a guy, came in the same way, 2 weeks notice, but he did fight well. He didn't get knocked out. So we'll see if he's in a little better shape than the last time. He looks good on the scale.
I'll tell you what, Mike, he's not skipping too many days at the gym right there. He looks like a well-prepared fighter.
And his opponent, Marco Verde.
Marco Verde with Canelo Alvarez, Canelo Promotions, with Eddie Reynoso, 2 pro fights, an Olympian, and a lot of people think that this is the next big thing from Mexico.
£158 for Marco Verde.
We don't
Look like we might see some stoppages tomorrow.
And in the light heavyweight division, first to the scale, Michael Santana.
Michael Santana's a light heavyweight, working with Crawford, I believe. He's one of those guys that came up under his gym. No, I'm sorry, I apologize. Santana. He's a guy I'm sorry, 4 losses, lost to 3 undefeated fighters that he faced. I think this is a fight that he can possibly make it hard for his opponent, but he's going to have to show that he's more focused and dedicated than he's been in the past.
171.5 pounds for Michael Santana. And his opponent, Steven Nelson.
Hey, Steve Nelson remembers being at a gas station in North Omaha as a teenager, gets jumped by 20 guys. Crawford sees what's going on, doesn't like the odds, jumps to Nelson, and the next thing you know, what Nelson remembers, it's like a kung fu movie. Crawford goes through 20 guys, leaves them all, groaning, lying on the ground. It's like a Bruce Lee flick. And needless to say, they became fast friends after that. And Steve has been a presence in every Crawford camp.
Also, 171.5 pounds for Steven Nelson.
Nelson was a really crucial sparring partner for Crawford in the lead up to this fight. He's coming off a loss. It's actually a kind of career loss to Diego Pacheco. He got more notoriety, I think, Mike, in defeat than he had in a lot of his victories.
And in the lightweight division, first to the scale, Martin Caraballo.
Caraballo was a thankless and time-honored task. Here is the opponent. 0-0-1, a draw in his pro debut 114 days ago. On the bright side, never been knocked down. And trained by a Hall of Famer, Ada Velez, a member of the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame. His pops is also in the corner.
£133 for Martin Caraballo. And his opponent, Sultan Al-Mohammed.
Mike El Nino coming to the ring. To the scales, I should say.
Yeah, Sultan Al-Mohammed, one of 2 fighters, Mario, on this card, like Mighty Mo Al-Khal, that is a young fighter from Saudi Arabia trying to make their mark and become the first champion from the region. And like Mighty Mo, also training in Big Bear with Abel Sanchez. That's the Mexican trainer, of course, that guided Triple T to his Hall of Fame career.
132.5 pounds for Sultan Al-Mohammed. To the super featherweight division, First to the scale, Javier Martinez.
Out of Dallas, Texas, Javier
Javier
Martinez says
on a
when he
two-fight losing
lost
streak.
in April, it came after retirement, a time of drinking, trouble, and really trying to forget boxing. Therapy, his father's support, and his wonderful girlfriend Iris helped turn it around for him. He was really emotional in the fighter meetings this week. He told us, "I was always a winner to my dad." And now with his timing back, he plans to go out there and capitalize on Tsutsumi's lack of experience and prove he's back and make his father proud once again.
129.5 pounds for Javier Martinez. And his opponent, Raito Tsutsumi.
Rito Tatsumi, 2-0, 1 KO, a power puncher from Japan, has shown glimpses of a promising star. A lot of people believe he's the next to carry the torch for Japan once Inoue, Inoue, and Nakatani retires. This guy is special because he's the favorite fighter of Your Excellency Turkey Al-Sheikh.
Also,
And he comes from a fighting family. He has a brother also that's 5-0. Tatsumi, remember that name, from Japan.
Now to the heavyweight division. First to the scale, Jermaine Franklin Jr.
Jermaine Franklin, very experienced fighter. His 2 losses to Dillian White and one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division over the past 10 years, and Anthony Joshua. Doesn't always come in the best shape, but after coming in bad shape against White, improved his physique against Anthony Joshua. And I think this is going to be one of the best fights on the undercard. Ivan Ditchko is a real prospect, and Jermaine Franklin's going to be the toughest opponent of his career.
256 pounds for Jermaine Franklin Jr. And his opponent, Ivan Ditchko.
Ivan Ditchko is a guy with great pedigree, 2-time Olympic medalist, great amateur wins over Zhilei Zhang, Filip Hrgovic, Bakadir Jalilov, trains out of Pittsburgh. He knows what he's here to do, revive his career, and he does that by staying in the center of the ring, setting up his right hand with a jab, and knocking out Jermaine Franklin, who's, by the way, never been down.
239.5 pounds for Ivan Ditchko.
Looks like you, Cop.
All bald guys look alike, huh?
Some big boys.
Yeah, you see Jermaine Franklin talking about how he had the improved physique against Joshua. Now he's in that similar weight that he was against Dillian White. So he's taking a step backward now.
And in the middleweight division, first to the scale, Brandon Adams.
36 years old. Brandon the Cannon Adams grew up in South Central Los Angeles, pulled up the streets and into the gym at 19, turned amateur at 20, and at 21 he was a pro. You see him wearing the gray wig. It's because his opponent said he was old. Yesterday at the press conference, he ripped his shirt off. I have a feeling he's going to do that again. Here he goes. He said, "I'm not old. If this looks old, I don't know." Back in 2019, he went the distance with Jamal Charlo for a world title. His career's been interrupted.
156 pounds for Brandon Adams.
It's been interrupted by a lot of layoffs from promotional problems, but he's back and he plans to do exactly what he did in the rematch back in 2020.
Sergey Bohachuk, this is a rematch of a very impressive fight. He had this fight with Brandon all the way sealed until he made one mistake and got clipped before the ending of the fight. So he's here to avenge that one loss, the first loss that started to slide. And then he was eventually faced with Virgil, and he.
Yeah, look, and after that loss, Boachuk last year, one of the best fighters in the sport, Virgil Ortiz, Boachuk drops him twice, and he loses the fight on the cards. A lot of people thought he won that fight.
Yes, myself included. He's one of the most exciting fighters right now. I think he's developed so quickly, so he's more than ready for the moment.
And also, if he can avenge his first loss, that'll be big for him.
Right.
That'll be a huge step backward if he can.
Imagine losing to a gray hair guy.
And don't forget also, Brandon Adams gave Jamal Turlo a very good fight.
And you can see he's an entertainer. I think we need more of that in boxing.
Just like you, right?
Most definitely.
For the main card, live on Netflix. Up first, the lightweight division. First to the scale, Travis Crawford.
So we got two Crawfords on the card.
Travis Crawford, obviously no relation to Terence Crawford. He's just 22 years old from Corpus Christi, Texas. He started training at 10 years old, rose to become a Texas Golden Gloves boxer, and now he gets to finish what he started on one of boxing's biggest stages. And this is big for him, guys, because in 2 weeks, he leaves for Army basic training to pursue his dream of becoming an Army Ranger.
132.5 pounds for Travis Crawford. And his opponent, Mohammed Alvarez.
And again, mighty Mo Al-Khel. You mentioned Sultan Al Muhammad earlier. Like him, trying to become the first champion from Saudi Arabia. It's a big aim for His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. And you see him there with Abel Sanchez, great trainer, training in the altitude, leaving the comfort of his home as a young kid. What I really like here too, Mario, is he's fighting just 28 days later. When you're a young fighter, right, Antonio? You want to get that activity going
as much as possible, which seems to be lost these days, unfortunately.
And to the middleweight division. First to the scale, Lester Martinez.
Now this is a fight I'm really excited about, gentlemen. I think Christian McBilly is one of the most exciting fighters on the scene right now. But Lester Martinez coming in undefeated with 19-0 mark.
Well, I mean, he's a really important sparring partner, Lester Martinez, to Terence Crawford. I mean, that may be his ultimate contribution to the evening. I'll tell you what, though, he's in tough. He's in tough against Christian McBilly.
167 pounds for Lester Martinez.
Pride of Guatemala.
Yeah, look, in my opinion, this isn't just the best undercard fight. It could steal the show.
Christian McBilly.
And Billy, you see there, grew up hungry in Cameroon. Kid who lived on potatoes with a little bit of salt. When he was 12, he emigrated to France, learned how to fight, and he still fights very, very hungry. And Billy knows exactly what he wants here. A fight of the year, a knockout, the kind that would generate enough buzz to get him his ultimate dream, a fight with, guess who? Canelo.
167 pounds for Christian McBilly.
Look at that physique, Mario.
Oh, no, all these guys are coming in jacked. Talk about a television-friendly fighter, though. You always get your money's worth.
We got to get you training in the gym alongside him.
And to the super welterweight division, first to the scale, Fernando Vargas Jr.
Fernando Vargas Jr., of course, the son of former world champion Fernando Vargas. trained by his father.
I'm gonna go with
Junior didn't actually start boxing until he was 17 years old, but he's quite the athlete. He was a standout as a basketball player, played baseball, picked it up really quickly. He's used to moments like this being with his father, being that his father was on these stages many, many times. He feels that Callum Walsh has been carefully selecting his opponents and is sort of a byproduct of marketing, and he feels more than ready for the moment. This is his first time that he's coming in as an underdog. He's 3-0 against Southpaws, and he's 15. He's got 15 knockouts out of his 17 fights, so the kid could definitely punch.
Yeah, and Mario, worth noting here that it's his brother Emiliano who's the hot prospect. He has a chance right now to change that narrative.
Well, that's another thing, is fighting out of the shadow of both your father and one of your younger brother, who really is quite the standout.
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with the ball decision. We were on the same Olympic team. Really proud of these guys.
This is exactly the kind of fight that's missing from boxing. Two young, undefeated guys who are still prospects. And I guarantee you, if they fight well, neither of them will lose. They'll both benefit from the shine they get on this.
King Callum Walsh, man, 14-0, 11 KOs, ending an 84-day layoff. Here's a kid with a lot of confidence. He's Ireland's favorite son, but he's made his home here in America. He's headlined 10 of the last 11 fights right here in the States. And if he can beat the young Fernando Vargas Jr., here's a star in the making.
It's fiery.
Hey, and look, Fernando Vargas Jr. has his dad on stage, but Callum Walsh has his uncle Dana there. That is Dana White's pet project. This guy is sold out. The theater at Madison Square Garden, he's a big attraction, and Dana White believes in him.
And now we're going to take a closer look at the two boxing legends in our main event.
The ultimate promise of sports is simple. The best must meet the best. It's what every fan demands. It's what every era remembers. Tonight, two of history's greatest step into the same arena and put legacy against legacy. When greatness meets greatness and the dust settles, who will remain standing?
How many fighters have ever been called the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? There haven't been that many, ever. These are two of them. Canelo Alvarez, the biggest star in boxing, faces Terence Crawford, a man who still holds the distinction in the minds of many as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Crawford on top of him now, trying to finish the deal. It's all over.
I want to be remembered as one of the all-time greats. And I got to go through Canelo to do it.
Crawford is fighting a guy 3 divisions bigger, and he's a killer. But Crawford's special. Fighters like Crawford come every now and then. He's a different breed.
Terence Crawford! He is on a whole nother level. The only male to become a 2-division undisputed champion.
He's a great fighter. He's a legend. But, you know, he's not Canelo.
Canelo Alvarez, one of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time. There's a reason why he's the man. He is one of the best finishers in all of boxing. Canelo looking to close the show.
Hold hurt. Hold down. Hold out.
And the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Canelo Alvarez.
Nobody in this world is untouchable.
I ain't scared of shit. I stepped to him and showed him who is the boss of this fight.
He never fought anybody like me. I want to make history.
The fight, it is over.
I'm an elite fighter. You know I'm different.
All hail the king.
This is my era, and ain't nobody gonna stop me.
You're gonna be just like everybody else. Watch.
It's gonna be one of my best victories in my career.
¡Viva México, cabrones!
We're gonna make history. Terence Crawford, 3-time undisputed champion of the world.
I'm gonna win.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terence Bud Crawford.
Hey, I don't know what everybody's booing for. A guy's making a run at immortality with no catch weight, no rehydration clause, no excuses. That is so rare in today's boxing.
It really goes with his personality, Mark, because he's never backed down from any challenge. And he looks more well prepared than ever.
For Terence Bud Crawford. And his opponent, Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo Alvarez, he's the singular face of boxing. He's been the biggest star in the sport for some time now. And I agree, let's give Terence Crawford all the credit for no rehydration clause. But Canelo Alvarez, his 2 losses to Floyd Mayweather with a rehydration clause and at a catch weight. I mentioned Dimitri Bivol at 175. At 168, I think that's his best weight, Mario.
And that's the thing, Mike. He dares to be great. He takes on the best challenges. He's challenged himself a higher weight. He's now facing pound for pound, arguably the best fighter in the game. That's why it means so much to their legacy.
167.
Both of these guys are ready. I like what I saw from the scales, man. The fight of the century. Wow.
Man, he just cut up his Nino Coppinger.
I mean, I keep hearing about how Terence Crawford and Canelo are the same size, but they clearly are. Am I blind?
Yeah. Look, I'm surprised.
Crawford has always been a strong individual, even if it doesn't translate necessarily to his fists and strong strength. You can't move him around. He's got that country strength, if you will, and he's very strong when you go inside on him.
And Mario, in every boxing match, a fight has broken out. And I believe when the fight breaks out, I think Terence Crawford's mentality is going to give him an edge in this fight.
I think that Crawford thinks of himself as the bigger fighter. He's also the kind of guy, it's wrestling strength. I mean, he wrestled as a kid.
Right.
He's really good at, he refuses to be manhandled.
You're exactly right. Again, a credit to his strength.
Yeah, look, I don't think the strength is going to be the issue for Terence Crawford. We saw in that round 2 against Errol Spence. He threw him across the ring. He's really strong.
You look like you trained for speed.
Yeah, they both look ready.
Yeah, I train for everything. I get back in basic. I need to put everything in this fight.
Thank you, Canelo. And we got Terence Bud Crawford making his way over here. Bud, you weighed in at 167.5 pounds, by far the heaviest of your career. How does it feel?
Lovely. I feel wonderful. I can't wait until tomorrow.
Thank you, Bud.
So, gentlemen, we saw 2 guys who look incredible at the scales, but because he looked great at the scales, it doesn't necessarily mean he'll be able to handle that weight effectively. We're going to find out tomorrow night. Of course, I'm meaning about Bud.
In less than 24
Tomorrow night, can't be here fast enough.
We're going to see you tomorrow night.
You just missed Fernando Vargas.
Like I was saying, Mike, Charlo, Brooke, Khan, they all look great on the scales, but it ended up catching up with them later on in the ring.
Yeah, look, I think the key to this fight, Mario, is that Canelo's power is going to be a lot for Crawford to deal with. He goes to the body, he goes to the chin. Like we said earlier, Eddie Reynoso, when he's teaching you to throw those feints, he wants you to throw everything hard. So if you guess wrong, it's night-night.
Hey, I hear you guys talking a lot about Charlo. That was a fight that Crawford watched very intensely, up close, ringside. And by then, he was full-on scouting Canelo. That's the guy he wanted. And he says there's a big difference between himself and a lot of the recent opponents Canelo has faced. A guy like Charlo, this is Crawford talking, said his victory was surviving. His victory was going 12 rounds. I'm going there to take him out.
Well, that's been the case for a lot of guys, Antonio. They're happy to show up. They're happy to collect the paycheck, but no one has really dared to win. I think that's going to be different with Bud tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think Canelo is going to feel that this guy, this young man, this man is more determined than anybody I've ever been in there with. And like I said, he's a sharp puncher. That's a different feel than just these guys landing. He got GPS on his punches. He knows exactly where they're going. And that makes Bud Crawford a dangerous fighter tomorrow night. He could be stronger than Canelo physically.
Well, if we're basing it off those last fights, we saw Canelo win against a very active William Skull in the sense that where it was more of a track meet. Was he a little long in the tooth? Is he now somewhat incapable of being able to cut off the ring? Or does Bud, with the extra weight, does that weigh on him? Will that come into effect in the later rounds and he'll slow down and tired and get caught with something?
Well, I just want to add on that. It's his intensity. He has to keep that intensity up. And a lot of times he starts slow. He throws one punch at a time. That ain't going to get it done with Terence Crawford. He's going to have to go back to cutting that ring off and throwing combination punches if you want that power to be effective tomorrow.
Terence Crawford was really frank with me the other day about his game plan. I said, listen, I'm not the A side. I understand that the crowd's going to be with Canelo. I have to presume that the judges will be with Canelo. What that means is he can't do what he usually does, Crawford. He cannot start slow and download all the information. He's got to get on him from the jump. He admitted this to me. He says, not only do I have to bank rounds, I have to win them decisively. And this is not going to be a friendly crowd for him.
And you know, Mike, that's the thing. If Terence gets off to a fast start and Canelo lets him, he tends to tire a little towards the end. That may catch up if, in fact, that's the case and Bud is able to withstand those extra pounds.
Yeah, and look, now Terence Crawford has all this extra weight on. Weight makes you burn out faster. So I think Canelo Alvarez is going to have a better second half of the fight. I do think Terence Crawford is going to be up on the cards going into it. And I just think that not enough people are talking about Canelo Alvarez's power. He's dropped 4 of his last 5 opponents. William Skull was running around the ring. And that fight was at 6 in the morning. It was a little tough. It was in Riyadh. I also want to mention here, Canelo Alvarez wasn't at his best shape against William Skull. That fight was 4 months ago. He told me in training camp that he's always better in September than May.
You know, there's only one time in my career that I felt going into a fight that I had to knock a man out. I knew I couldn't go to the judges. And I believe Terence Crawford here in Vegas feels the same way about Canelo. He feels he may have to knock Canelo out to get this victory tomorrow.
He's going to go for it. He's going to go for it. I know that he's been talking about for a while now, something I've never seen a weakness in, but Canelo's chin. And that's the difference in temperament between Terence Crawford and all these other guys that he's been facing for the last few years.
And Mark, as we hear this mariachi music and Vicente Fernandez play, the fact that it is Mexican Independence Day weekend, and it's going to be at the peak, really, of the year where the biggest fights sort of happen. Canelo's been in this moment many times, and he has so much pride with the country literally riding on his back. Will Bud be a little bit overwhelmed by the moment? I know he's been on the big stages, but it's a different thing when you're facing Canelo, especially in this weekend.
I don't think that he'll be overwhelmed by the moment. I think this is the moment that he's been asking for. He's finally got it. You don't ask for something like this if you think you're going to be overwhelmed. I think that on the other side, this is a high-value target. a great fight, a fight that can change boxing history. I think that Canelo will get up for it in a way that, listen, if I'm Canelo, I'm fighting William Skull in the middle of the night. I'm not really getting up for that. You give me Terence Crawford who's calling me out.
That William Skull
bring it.
fight,
Come
that
on.
was
Especially on this weekend, Mike. I'd
Canelo.
never see. I mean, he's always in shape, but he looked really dialed in tonight.
Yeah, and look, Mario, we talk all about Terence Crawford as a dog. I've heard it about 1,000 times this week alone.
Basically,
Canelo Alvarez didn't
man.
get to this point in his career because he's not prideful. He hears everybody picking Terence Crawford, and he wants to prove them wrong. I think even if he has lost just a little bit of a step, he has one last great fight in him.
And that's the thing, Antonio. They're both dogs, like Mike said. They both got that mean streak. They both know how to finish strong, and they both have a lot of pride. So on paper, it should be an incredible fight.
Most definitely incredible. Not only that, I'm expecting the unexpected tomorrow night, bro. You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to make it even more better, and it's live right here on Netflix, man. The fight of the century.
Do you know how big an ego you need to do? No, seriously. You need to be kind of crazy to step in there from the jump. Sure. But in a fight like this, to ask for what Crawford's asked for, you got to be a little bit nuts. And I mean that with
respectfully.
With great admiration. But think about what he's doing at his age. And I don't know what the mega fight precedent for this is, but he's almost 38. Ray Leonard was 32 when he fought Hagler. Spinks, 29 when he went up against Holmes. Pacquiao, 30 when he fought De La Hoya. A guy to go up that much at this point in his career is really rather extraordinary.
And
he thinks he's Superman.
Well, you know what? And he should, because he essentially jumped 3 weight classes. He made a pit stop at 154. And dare I say, he looked rather pedestrian that night. It was a very close, tough fight. Now you're asking him to go up yet another 2 weight classes against the undisputed champion who's had many fights there, elite fighter, on Mexican Independence Day, on the weekend. It's a tall task.
And look, it was a very close fight against Israel Madrimov. Madrimov's a good fighter, but again, that was at 54. Crawford, the last time he's fought more than once in his year, 2019. The last 5 years, Crawford's had 5 fights. In that same time span, Mario, 10 fights for Canelo Alvarez. So I think he's biting off a light here. And we saw Alexander Usyk, the pound-for-pound champ, and he had 2 fights at heavyweight first. Chaz Witherspoon, Derek Chisora, got his feet wet before he fought Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury.
Antonio, the thing is that I'm not even so concerned about the weight, because I think Crawford is a very strong guy. Obviously, it is a factor. The inactivity, I think, plays a bigger factor to me. Your thoughts?
You know, I would have wanted to see him get a rep. It's been over a year since he's been in the ring. You know, he's been doing a lot of media work, you know, going over to Saudi Arabia and everything. I would have loved to have seen him get a rep in maybe 4 months ago, just somewhere in the 54, maybe 60 range, you know, and then give him a camp on top of a camp. So if he needs a couple fill-out rounds, it might be tough going for him in the early beginnings.
Inactivity can go both ways. Terence Crawford has fought 248 rounds. Canelo, 520. So I asked Crawford, who's older in boxing years? He goes, he's been a pro. He turned pro when he was 15. I'm fresher. Let me tell you, Mike, something to unpack about the Madrimov fight. I asked Crawford about it, you know, wasn't your greatest performance? He goes, yeah, but the way that he bounced, the way that he moved, there's no one like that. I guess he was getting used to the weight too, but he goes, that's not Canelo. I don't have to worry about that type of rhythm here.
That's true. As far as the twitchy muscles and the footwork, he doesn't have to worry about that, but he should be a little bit more worried about the power that's coming back, because he's never faced a fighter with the power of Canelo.
And look, we have seen Crawford rocks before. Yuriorkis Gamboa, years ago at 135, buckled him. Mean Machine, that should have been scored a knockdown. Crawford is a great offensive fighter. He is not a great defensive fighter. And Canelo Alvarez is a monster puncher, and he's a big-time body puncher, and I think that could be the key to this fight.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, Antonio, Canelo is obviously the bigger man. He's the younger man. He's the man that's been more active. So strategically, what do you feel he has to do to end up getting his hand raised?
I think he got to go back in time a little bit and get back to the point where he was with when he defeated Plant. He showed a lot of ability in that fight. And right here, he still has one-punch knockout power. He hurt Berlanga with that. He dropped McGill with the uppercut also. So that one-punch power is still there. And also right here, the exchanges. He has to win the exchanges inside. You know, he can't let Crawford hurt him or get off those good shots inside. He got to dominate that.
And Mark, those are big guys. That's a 200-pound Berlanga that he faced in the ring that he ended up dropping, and Munguia actually gained a lot of weight too. So these are big men that he's hurting and dropping.
I still think there's something to what Crawford said, which is that a victory for these guys was in signing the contract. A victory for a lot of these guys was in surviving the 12 rounds. He has one punch power, yeah, but he hasn't had one punch knockout power in the last 4 years. I mean, you know, he took out Caleb Plant, which is an extraordinary feat in itself. Okay, great. But the idea that he can throw one punch and take you out, maybe, but maybe not. And we have not seen it for a while.
And you've got to be there to be hit, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. And look, obviously Terence Crawford is way more skillful than those guys you mentioned, but it doesn't matter how skillful you are, because if you get hit right on the chin, it only takes one punch. And again, Canelo Alvarez, he has that power, and I disagree. I do think all four of those guys came to win. I think Canelo beat the fight out of them, and once they got dropped, they went into a shell.
Look, the one thing strategically or psychologically, however you want to parse it, that's really interesting about Crawford is that when he gets hit, he'll want to get his back immediately. Now, that's going to open him up. So, that, you know, he's not going to be cute about it. Once he gets hit, he wants to come back. Can he temper that instinct? Because I agree with you in so much as this. His temperament will make him vulnerable at one point in this fight.
Yes, he is a disciplined fighter, though, and Canelo is no stranger to taking big risks himself. He, of course, fought Mayweather when he was 23 years old, and he took on Triple G in his prime 3 times, mind you. What does this fight mean to Canelo's legacy, being that he's the biggest star, really, in the sport?
If Canelo win this fight going away and maybe even stop Bud Crawford, I mean, he the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, if you ask me, by his accolades and the things he's done. You know, it's been 6-7 years he's had these dates locked in. You know what I mean? And it goes for the face of boxing.
William Old School, what's up, man?
And he's been that for many years.
Bro.
Now.
Salute.
That's the winning recipe at the end of the day, Mike.
Yeah, and look,
Yeah,
we know
doing that, man.
years,
Watching
right,
these
Mario?
weigh-ins,
It's a conversation for the greatest
You
fighter
got
in the
tomorrow,
history of
William
Mexico.
Old School.
There's Canelo Alvarez and there's Julio Cesar Chavez. And if Canelo loses this fight to Crawford, that will get questions tenfold. And don't forget, right, David Benavidez has been calling for a fight for a long time. If Canelo loses to Crawford, people will say, well, that's why he didn't want to fight Benavidez.
Mark, a number of men have pulled off big weight jumps in the century that the sport has been around.
I think Crawford
Some with
gonna
success,
get
some
the
with
job
not.
done tomorrow.
I think that this is Crawford's way of loading it
Old
so
School,
much.
y'all
saying,
going live
hey,
tonight?
now you must recognize me. In Crawford's mind, the jump
Well, y'all just
is
went
so
live.
big. And again, it's without any of the nonsense clauses we've become accustomed to. What he's demanding is like, hey, I'm an immortal. I win this, I'm an immortal. I think conversely, there is great risk for Canelo. It's like, hey, if you didn't want the big guy in Benavidez, you better beat up the small guy. And my feeling is that Canelo is so keenly aware, not just of his place in the game, but to me, what's even more sacred is his place, as you guys were talking about before, his place in Mexican boxing. One of the things that we lose sight of with
Everybody
Canelo,
done
because
made
he is
weight.
the sport's most powerful
Everybody look like they
economic
ain't
engine,
ready to
is
go.
that he came up the old
We
school
just waiting
way.
on
I mean,
tomorrow.
he might be boxing's leading man. He might be getting $100+ million for this fight, which, by the way, is a role that was denied generations of Mexican fighters, including Julio Cesar Chavez. But people lose
So you
sight
about to
of
go?
the fact
Okay, you
that
about to go
Canelo
live?
came up in a very
Yeah,
old
okay.
school way, fighting for money at 15 years old.
Absolutely.
Okay, you going
Guadalajara,
for Canelo?
Jalisco, Mexico. He had it growing up. Very, very tough.
Yeah, I
That's why he
gotta
turned
go
to the
for
sport
Bud
so
on this.
young. And there's no denying he's been the biggest box office star in Mexico. So hopefully we'll see if that translates after this fight hand in hand with they'll look at him over Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a
Oh,
feat.
10
for,
minutes. Okay.
It'd be a hell of a feat for Saul Canelo Alvarez
Shout
to
out
be
to the
named and
Angel White
respected
Man
and
podcast
revered
too,
as
man.
the best Mexican fighter
We got a
of
nice
all time.
podcast over
That's
here
a
too.
big
The Angel
feather
White
in your
Man
cap. And I think he's
podcast.
one fight, one
Subscribe
win
to
away
them,
from
man.
having that on his hat.
Absolutely. Look at the greats who made the jump. All but one of these names on this list, winner or loser, are in the Boxing Hall of Fame today. Antonio, you can make an excuse for the loser in almost every one of the fights on this list. If Canelo does lose, he does so without one. So how could Crawford's added weight affect him in the ring?
His added weight is going to allow him to take more shots from Canelo and have him stay around a lot longer. You know what I mean? If that chin holds up, I still don't know if he can take a clean shot from Canelo Alvarez, and that remains to be seen. But if he can, that changes the dynamics of the game.
That's exactly right. And Mark, just because of the added weight, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate to the chin.
The chin. You hit it right. I know that at 147, Terence Crawford has a great chin. You add 21 pounds, I don't know. You know, I mean, I know that he will be physically strong. I have a sense that his boxing ability, he'll be somewhat like Terence Crawford. You never know until you take that shot, you know?
And I want to say, right, you see sometimes when fighters move up in weight, they lose their power. Teofimo Lopez can't crack an egg, it seems, at 140, big puncher at 135.
Yeah,
but Terence Crawford, when he went up to 147, he somehow added a ton of power. We didn't see that as one fight, what you called a pit stop at 154, but just maybe he has power at 168.
So everybody going live.
Antonio, what are the keys to victory for Bud Crawford tomorrow night?
I just think Bud has to be Bud, but he has to do it in a real aggressive fashion. You know, he got to let both hands go. He can't afford to stay there too long. He got to get his and get gone. I think it's the Matador and the Bull. That's the only way I can see it. Him giving him angles, turning Canelo into him, and winning those exchanges. And he can't get hurt. That's it. He just can't get hurt tomorrow.
Well, Mark, we just saw Kell Brook, who ironically also went up 2 weight classes and had an unsuccessful bid against Triple G and got himself really hurt, which I believe of a broken orbital bone. But Terence is really the epitome of the athlete who carries a chip on his shoulder. He's got that killer instinct. Where do you think that attribute comes from?
I've never seen a guy for whom resentment and doubt were more important. It's like Canelo, Crawford depends on it. Please doubt me. Please dog me. I need you to say something bad about me. And he has I've never seen anyone quite the mindset of Terence Crawford. I think it begins in Omaha, which was absolutely nowhere in the boxing world before he made it somewhere. But even more than that, it begins with his mother. And he'll tell you the story when he goes to win his first title in Scotland against Ricky Burns, a Scottish champion. And all alone, his mom tells him, like, you're just going to get your butt kicked. And look, she'll tell you, Mrs. Crawford will tell you, like, I was just trying to motivate him. And she did. Terence will tell you the same thing, that the whole time he was searching for his mother's love, his mother's respect, but it made him a killer in the ring.
It really did, and it started ever since he was a little kid.
Look, he has that dog in him, like we keep saying, and he has that chip on his shoulder, but so too does Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, for a long time, was the pound-for-pound king. After he lost to Bivol, that's gone. And when you hear people talking about who's number one, they say, well, maybe it's Usyk, maybe it's the monster Naoya Inoue, maybe it's Terence Crawford. Canelo's never in that conversation. If you look in the list now, he's usually 6 at best, and I think that really does bother Canelo.
And Crawford's been defying the odds since the day he stepped into the ring. And Mark, I know you've covered him for years now, and you know there's more to Bud than just the knockouts and the victories.
13 months ago, Crawford sat down with Turkey El Sheikh after the Majamal fight, for which my friend over here, Coppinger, is still is dogging Crawford. And
think about Canelo, man.
Turkey says, what do you want? He says, Canelo, what about the weight? He goes, I'll move up.
I think he's going to do against
maybe you could fight Virgil. Maybe you could fight Boots Ennis. Maybe you could fight someone that's more. No, I want Canelo.
It's an even fight,
and I want only Canelo.
Speed
and that's why
versus
we're here.
Power, though.
There you have it. All these other guys look at Canelo as a payday, a score. Crawford sees him as his white whale, the thing he has to destroy. That doesn't mean that he's unreasonable. He has a pretty sober sense of what he has to do tomorrow night. He has to bank rounds early. He can't come off to a slow start. He can't take time downloading. He has to win them, and he has to win them decisively.
I think that's a great game plan, supremely confident. And Mike, I know you wrote the very first national magazine story on Crawford back in 2013 for Ring Magazine. And what caught your attention about him when he was just a young, precocious, talented fighter from Omaha?
You know, I just kept hearing about Terence Crawford. This kid from Omaha is super talented, mean streak. And his manager at the time, Cameron Duncan, who had guided Kelly Pavlik, Tim Bradley, and Onito Donaire, kept saying, this is the next guy. You have to meet him. And when I met Crawford in Omaha, I was struck right away by his incredible, compulsive competitiveness.
But with that being said, man, you know what time it is, man. We got one more day. Tomorrow, the big day. If you haven't, man, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, man. It's the Boxing Menu Podcast. I'm up out of here, man. Peace. See y'all tomorrow, man. It's going down tomorrow. Peace.
I got some clothes. I got some jewelry. The rest I got tied up in investments. I ain't got nothing else.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.